Hey guys, this is Mike coming at you today from Player One Video Games with episode 15, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe we've done 15. This will be the 15th one of these. We're going through the history of the console releases, what it was like, how did it feel to be there during the time when it came out, how did the launch feel, what was it like going up to it, afterwards, just the whole kit and caboodle. If you weren't alive back in the time, I'm going to let you know what it was like, kind of feel like, or at least what I felt like. Maybe not everybody. So this one, PS2, is what we're talking about today.
We're going to go back to the year 2000.
The year 2000, that's right. So, boy, there's a lot to talk about on this one. And a lot of you guys who are watching was here during that time and bought it. And you got your own feeling too. So hopefully, we kind of coincide what you guys feel or what I feel. And if you weren't old enough, or you're a little kid or weren't born yet, that's what we're here for, to kind of give you a feeling of it.
Yeah, leave comments.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Let us know if that's what you were feeling, or if you're like, you're a bozo. That's not what.
Yeah, no, tell us your story. We want to hear your story also.
Yeah.
So leave those in the comments. We'll read them.
That. I like to read y'all's stuff too. So, okay, let's start back. Now, you got to remember, the Dreamcast just came out the year before the PS2. So I was loving the Dreamcast. I think most people who had it really were loving it. But the system came out, man, way before the PS2 in Japan came out way before ours, like at least 6-8 months, something like that, or maybe more. So the internet was out, DSL was out. So you could download stuff. You could download video clips and see what was going on. More things were online by the year 2000. You could download video clips. Magazines were on top of everything. Japan was not a faraway place anymore.
No.
Like it used to be in the 80s and early 90s. So you really knew what was going on, what was coming. And I'll just say this, to me, I remember them taking pre-orders on the PS2 and them asking me, do I want to pre-order it? And I was sitting there going, well, there was only 9 people in line for the Dreamcast launch on $99.99 at 9 a.m. I go, and it wasn't that hard to get one if you didn't pre-order. I go, you know what? I'm not going to pre-order it. I'm just going to wait on launch day and I'm going to go get it. So that was my thinking. And so this came out in October of 2000, I believe. Around there. I might be a little off, but late 2000. But I was working at NASA at the time. I had a nice little 4-year stint at NASA away from the plants. It was the best job I ever had, regular job. It was great because you only worked 4 hours in an 8-hour day. Government contract, right? So you had all the time in the world, tons of time off. So they had this intranet site on NASA, so you could post stuff, and it was only for NASA, employees. And they had a for sale, buy for sale, things like that. And everybody would go through there, and look. And I noticed one thing. Somebody said, "I have a Japanese PS2 for rent."
Not for sale, just.
And this was in March. So it was like 6 months before it was going to come out, and I went, "Whoa!" So the guy's phone number was on there. His name was Joe Smith, I think it was James Smith. And so I called him up. I said, "Hey, you got that PS2 for rent?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "How the heck did you get one?" He goes, "Well, I'm a Japanese, NASA, Japan, I don't know about now, but back then had a NASA also that was really controlled by America. And he'd go over there every 3 months. He was a big video game fanatic. And so he bought a Japanese one and brought it back home. And he had all kinds of Japanese games and stuff. So I said, "Yeah, let me rent it for the weekend." And all he had was Tekken tag, I remember. And so I remember getting out of the house. I was excited, right? But I wasn't like crazy excited. I don't know why. Maybe because I was a little older. I was about 30. I had the Dreamcast and I was loving it. So I popped in Tekken tag for the first time, the Japanese version, which is the same as the American. And my thoughts were, it looks good, but I noticed, can't see it on this TV, but on a tube TV, it's called anti-aliasing, where it has the jaggies around the edges of all the players, right? And you can't see it on this one because it's the LCD, it's a little smoother. But back on the tube TV back in the day, it was so jaggedy. It was very noticeable, and it kind of ruined the moment. It ruined the PS2 moment. I went, man, what's going on with this PS2? Why can't it handle Tekken Tag? I love my Tekken 3 on the PS1. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So, but I played it and I was okay with it. But I thought, man, the Dreamcast looks better.
Because it did.
Because it did.
Sorry.
Better colors, smoother, a little bit better gameplay. And that's just only after one game, though. So I was like, okay, that's all right. That's all right. It's not a big deal. When it comes out here in 6 months, I'm going to buy it. But I was really underwhelmed by the system, by the Japanese one. So I gave it back to him, and me and that guy became kind of friends. We would hang out a little bit. I went to his house, and he was the only person I ever seen with more games than me at that time. And so he had tons of Japanese stuff, and he'd always ask me, hey, I'm going to Japan. You want me to get you something for the Dreamcast? Or, he brought over Guitar Freaks 2 years before Guitar Hero came out in America.
Whoa.
So we were playing Guitar Hero 2 years before it came out.
There you go with that privileged stuff again, Mike.
It was great.
Man.
It was great. I loved it. So, but Guitar Freaks was a little bit more like a toy, than even more of a toy than Guitar Hero. So 6 months goes by, and a couple of, it was starting to get some hype the week of the launch, and I'll go, oh my goodness, this is, like I said, the PS1 was a locomotive coming to America. This thing was a bullet train. It was unstoppable force. You were like, whoa, everybody and their grandma was at. This is the first time that I saw lines for a system the night before.
And you know why, right?
Because the DVD.
Yep.
Yeah, because Dreamcast didn't do DVD. DVD players were kind of pricey, and so it had the DVD, but then it was one of the cheapest ones you could get. And it's a system, right? So, so I was getting worried that week because why was I worried? Because I used to write, as you heard from last video, for MPOG and sports-gaming.com. They would send me games 1 or 2 a month. I'd get the game, review it, and my payment was the game. So every month I got $100 in games, and if I hated them, I'd go trade them in and, put it towards something else. And so I go, my God, I got to get this PS2. So I took off work the launch day. So the night before, I could maybe get in a line or something. And so it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I was looking around. Best Buy was like 50 people deep.
Are you kicking yourself for that pre-order now?
Yes, because I could have got a pre-order, didn't have to wait. And Circuit City had 20 people in line. Every place that they knew how many they were going to get, there was a line there. So I said, oh my God, how the heck am I going to get this thing? I said, you know what, I'm just going to wake up early on that day and just go around and see, maybe people left. It was a new experience, lines for a game. It was something that I had never seen, and I don't think it ever was before that. That I can remember, a line for a system.
No, it was this. This was the one.
Yeah, this was the one. And so the next morning I woke up and I go, it was about 7 a.m. I'm missing work. I took a day off, and I'm going around again. I'm going, oh my God. So I go to CompUSA, and they said, well, and in 1 hour we're doing a raffle. So stand in this line, and we're going to give out tickets. And if we call your number, you can buy it. So we have about 10 of them, and there was about 50 people in line, right? So they gave us all a ticket, and they called out the number, and the lady in front of me who got a ticket got a winning ticket, and she got to buy it, and I didn't.
Wah, wah.
So I was like, oh my God. I said, well, let me go down to Alameda, another, maybe the Best Buy, a Circuit City down there, might have them. So I went down there. The manager comes out and said, sorry, we're not getting any PS2s. And there was about 5 people in line. I was like, well, there goes that. So I was distraught. I said, what in the heck do I do? It's about 9:30 in the morning. I'm sitting in my car in front of Circuit City at Alameda Mall.
There goes your job.
And everybody was saying they're not going to be getting them until March. And that was true. That day of launch, PS2 day, that it launched in America, none of them hit the shelves again until March. So I was going to lose my job of reviewing
the journalism
games,
stuff, yeah.
the journalism, and get my free games, you know.
Oh, you're going to have to buy games?
I'm going to have to buy games, full price. Yeah, just like all you cretins out there. Right. And so I was sitting there going, man, what do I do? And something popped in my head. I went, well, Blockbuster opens in 30 minutes. They rent systems. I wonder if they're going to have some at launch. Nah, they won't. So I go to Best Buy. I don't remember which one. There's so many. Oh, I do remember which one. There was a Best Buy on Bay Area and Egret Bay down on the other side of the freeway. Mm-hmm. So I ran in there. I said, do y'all happen to have a PS2 for rent? I know it's launch day, but you have it? He goes, yeah, we got one. We got like 5 of them. You want to rent one? I went, oh, yes.
Please tell me you didn't rent one till March.
I'll tell you what I did.
Oh, no.
So it came out in a big old carrying case of solid black, like a like suitcase, with foam in there. It was really nice. So I didn't get to experience opening up this box.
No, you got military grade apparently.
I got a military grade thing. So I took it home. I made sure it worked. And I rented it, I think, for 3 days. And I said, man, this thing's expensive to rent. What am I going to do? I said, let me go back. I got an idea. So I went back to Blockbuster. I said, I lost the system. How much does it cost to buy this thing? They go, well, it's the cost of the system, $300. I went, I'm sorry, here you go. And they go, you know something? This has been happening to everybody. The manager there. He goes, none of our systems, they get stolen out of cars. And true story. None of their systems came back. Everybody, kept it home and bought it. So so I had a military grade case with foam in it and everything and 2 controllers, So I never got to experience, and I love this blue box. It's probably one of my favorite, because I love this color blue. It's my favorite color.
Man, that's simple, but it's effective.
Simple, and it's amazing. I can just stare at this box all day. And that's why I love boxes. That's why I put them everywhere, so I can just look at them every time I come into work. And so, okay, so I have my system.
Oh, sorry. We were looking at boxes.
So I have my system, and the games that I bought. All right, the games that I bought. There was a lot of launch games. I mean, amazing stuff like Fantavision. All right. Wild Wild, whatever, racing. No, but there was some decent titles at launch. Of course, Tekken Tag was an American launch. I bought it. I bought Smuggler's Run. I bought Dynasty Warriors 2. And I believe those were the 3 that I bought. So, of course, like I said, the first game that I played was Tekken Tag, the Japanese version. So I was, I was pretty happy with the system. But I think the reason I was not just totally floored by it was because I had a Dreamcast. The Dreamcast kind of was there. It had these type of graphics. In fact, it might have had a little bit better graphics than the PS2. And so I was not wowed on launch by this. One thing I was wowed by that the Dreamcast could not do, because I think it was on a GD-ROM, and these were on, CDs, DVDs. They were bigger. And look, Rockstar Games made this.
Hey, look, that's Rockstar.
Yeah.
Famous for a certain Grand Theft of Autos.
That's right. We're going to get to that in a minute. So, Smuggler's Run. As you know, I always was looking for open world games like Twisted Metal, where I could just go around, kill everybody except for one person and drive around, right? So
you had your taste with Shenmue.
Oh, well.
I said taste.
Taste, yeah.
A sampling.
So what I loved about this game was that I could just drive around, one. But the thing that impressed me the most about this game, or this system at the time, was it was the first time that you saw something way off in the distance, like a mountain, and you could go to it, and it, you know, and
Right.
get there and travel to that mountain naturally, and it's getting closer and closer, and you could climb the mountain.
It wasn't just like a map painting in the background.
Yeah, like a rad racer,
Mhm.
or pole position, something
Yep.
like that. So, like, see this mountain back there? I know this is small stuff now. It's nothing, but
back then,
at the time, to see that mountain in the background and be able to drive around and to be able to get there, like, that was an amazing moment for me. I remember messing with this train all the time, and I'm like, oh my God, I can actually get to this mountain. I can climb it. I can, get to the top of it. I can look around. I can see another mountain and go down and get to that. It might not sound like a big deal, but at the time, it was an amazing thing to me. It was something that I always kind of wanted, even though you can't get out of your car. I'm gonna get on these tracks real quick.
You are the car.
Yeah, you are the car. So let's see this. I'm just gonna leave it here, and we'll do an epic fail. And so that's what I really liked about this game. What the PlayStation could do that nothing could ever do before that was have a lot of stuff on the screen, and draw distance. And the other one that impressed me was Dynasty Warriors 2. I had never seen a game that had tons of enemies on the screen, and your thumb would be mush, after 30 minutes of this game.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't we talk about? Did we talk about that? Didn't we talk about that
Let's see
fog
what
in the
happens.
back?
Oh God, that's right.
There is no fog.
No more fog. No more N64 fog is gone. But Dynasty Warriors 2 impressed me with the amount of action on the screen, the amount of people on the screen. That's, I think, what impressed me most about this system. It wasn't the color. The Dreamcast had better colors. Dreamcast had smoother animation, no anti-aliasing issues. This was like a little bit rougher Dreamcast, but it had bigger worlds than the Dreamcast could, because of the space mainly, and of the DVDs. I know it had CDs, also the blueback games or CDs. So launch, I was impressed. Overall, I wasn't floored. I wasn't wowed. I played Smuggler's Run a lot. I played Dynasty Warriors. I played some Tekken. When Madden came out, to me, the NFL 2K series destroyed Madden back then in the early 2000s. Madden was a horrible game to me, 01, 02, 03, 04, 05. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I got something interesting that people might not remember or even realize. So we'll get that in just a bit. So I was never really just overly impressed with the graphics, but I was impressed with the bigness of the games so far on the PS2. And it really wasn't until Gran Turismo and God of War came out that I was like, wow, okay. It took a couple of years, 3-4 years, but then they were doing better with the graphics, with the programming on that. What did you think about that, the graphics on the PS2?
Yeah, because I went from PS1 to PS2.
Okay, so you had a big jump.
Yeah, I got the big jump. I mean, I played a little bit of Dreamcast with my cousin, but it was his system.
Right.
But the fact that I was getting a DVD player, which can't stress that enough, is
that is true.
At that time, DVD players were $300-400 on the cheapest end.
And DVDs were starting to become in Blockbuster more to rent. So when this one came out, you kind of needed to transition to DVD movies. They still had VHS, of course, but by 02, 03, everything was becoming DVD.
And you could tell the difference easily between VHS and DVD.
Okay, so I'll still play my Dreamcast. Number one, actually, over this system. was not until this game came out. In, I believe it was maybe 01. I'm trying to see here. If anybody remembers what year this one came out, it was pretty early, right, in the life of the PS2. So let's go back, way back. Let's go back to Superman on the 2600. Let's go back even, I'm trying to think of a couple other games. Of course, Twisted Metal. The game that pissed me off the most, the Road Warrior, or whatever it was called on the Sega CD. Ever since Superman came out in the early 80s, I think it came out like 79, 80. I didn't get it till like 81, 82. I wanted to play an open world game where I could do everything. And when this game came out, even though the graphics were definitely a level below par, right?
Right.
These were not Tekken graphics, God of War graphics. These were almost PS1 graphics at the time, you know. But when this game came out, I did not care about the graphics. I couldn't believe the game I've been waiting on for 20 years was finally here. And so when this game came out, I pretty much put the Dreamcast to the side. It was my secondary system, and I played this thing for months. And what impressed me the most about this game, of course, was that you could do everything, get in and out of cars, steal other cars. You know, everybody knows what Grand Theft Auto is. But for me, the biggest thing was
You can get in, get out.
When you walked by a person, they would say something to you, everybody. And once again, I know that's just normal now. But when I heard somebody talk to me when I walked by them, I went, this is alive.
Yeah.
This world is alive. It's not static. It's not it's not an unplayable character.
Right.
You know, kind of. These people do stuff. They react to you. You know, like a lot of games, you might see somebody, punch them, and nothing happens.
Right.
You know, but when you go up to somebody and punch them, they run or they fight back.
Oh, look, this guy wants to fight you now.
Yeah. And so, and I don't know, when you played this game, did you feel that?
Oh, for sure. Except I waited a little bit longer, and I played it Vice City.
Okay.
So
well, that just got better because of motorcycles and the music, and just the story was better. It was cool, you know, it was 80s.
Right. It was
so
big Miami Vice, you know, type of thing.
But, you know, the only system that can handle this type of, you know, stuff going on the screen at the time was the PS2. Dreamcast couldn't handle it. Nothing before that could really handle it.
People just bumping into you.
Yeah,
Look at you. Ooh.
It was alive. It was the first time a world was alive, and so it was the only thing I played for probably 3 months straight. I mean, I get home from work, I just get out of my way. I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 3.
This was your second life, basically.
Yeah, it was like second life. It definitely was, and I couldn't get enough of it. And when Vice City came out, and you could ride motorcycles, and the music was great.
You could actually get in the water.
You're right. You would die. You would die on the water in this one, right?
Right.
You drown, yeah.
They haven't worked out the kinks yet, but they were working on.
And it was just, and then, you know, San Andreas, of course. But I like Vice City probably the best out of those. So when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, I was like, man, it's finally here. You know, what total gameplay of everything. And so that's it. I was just euphoric with that game.
And these guys are just talking left and right to you when they bump into you.
It's just a live world for back then. It was just crazy, you know. And they're doing stuff, and it was controlling the world. It was, you know, I just can keep on going. I'm still amazed by it. Okay, so finally get around. You know, it's enough playing Grand Theft Auto, and then, you know, Vice City comes out, and then the only thing I'm wanting then is better Grand Theft Auto graphics. So
Okay.
the only way to do that was to pop over to the Xbox. We'll talk about that next episode.
Next episode.
So, hey, what else was coming out on the PS2 that I really loved?
Well, we got a good selection over here, Mike. You tell us about.
For me, when this one came out, I probably replayed this game from start to finish. I'd say 4, 5, I don't know, 6 times over, and probably 3 times in a row. When this one came out, it was a perfect storm of story with gameplay and the beautiful graphics for an airplane game, and the perfect like intuitive control. If you've never played Ace Combat 4, I think it still holds up to this day. So this was one that I played over and over with Gran Turismo, but I loved them. I had fun with it, and with both of those. But I think one of the games I had the most fun with is SSX. The first SSX is pretty good, but when Tricky came out,
oh man, you have no idea.
I think so. You just felt the same way about Tricky?
Oh, are you kidding me? Tricky is the jam.
It's funny. Even to this day, snowboarding games are a little boring to me after this one. You know, Cool Borders on the PS1 was pretty good. That was a good series. But when SSX Tricky came out, it was just pure speed and fun and tricks and
arcadiness. It was just
arcadiness.
It was just great.
It was great. It felt like Sega Arcade made, Sega or whatever made this game or something. But this EA Big was a good team, or whoever did that. So this game kind of ruined other games for me. So other snowboarding games.
Yeah, they did a lot of great like arcadey kind of sports stuff like Street 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Street series was great, and like I remember playing Street. I think it was Street 2, and when this is the first time I saw like, hey, the Dallas Mavericks are getting a new logo, new uniforms. I never saw it until Street 2 came out. I was like, oh, that's cool, So they were on top of things. It was a lot of fun. There was an amazing little period in time, and it was about 2004, where developers would just throw anything and see if it stuck. And didn't care, because it was wild, wild west a little bit on what type of games, the genres. They weren't making Call of Duty 18,
right?
Yet.
We started getting some of that weird Japanese stuff.
Yeah. So games, there was, and the games that. Hold
on. It won't pause.
What's up?
I don't know. I had.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's a Pokemon Go thing. I'm not feeling ill.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, all right.
All right. So I couldn't pause during any of that. So.
Is it re-record?
It's still recording.
It's still recording. Okay.
Yeah, it's still recording. You're just gonna have to edit.
All right.
Sorry.
Okay. So there was a cool little moment in, I believe it was 2004, where all these like indie type games came out, and they were so much fun because they were different. Like Maximo was one of them, Dog's Life, Mr. Mosquito, and Katamari Damacy. So it was just a fun year, and just to see what stick and just to play different stuff. That's what I liked about the PS2. There were so many out there that, and the programmers or the developers and the studios were like, hey, make something. Let's get it out there. It's going to sell. There's 80 million of these things out there. And that's what I loved about, it lasted for a year or two when that little era came on. And those were just fun games. I love Dog's Life when it came out. If you've never played that one, it's fun. And I love little games like this. Something cool happened. You guys know I love the old football games.
Right.
And Madden was still king, right? All through the 90s. And I stopped playing Madden in 93 was the last year on the Genesis. And I would always switch to something else because I never liked the Maddens after that. But they still had the #1 market share. But the 2K series was creeping up on Madden, right?
And look at that. They went from Dreamcast to the PS2.
Yeah, and original Xbox also, and Cube. So they were kind of starting to be neck and sales a little bit. The 2K was getting closer to the Madden series, and in 05, something amazing happened. Games back then for the PS2 were $49.99 brand new.
Mm-hmm.
These two came out brand new at $19.99 each.
Whoa.
Brand new launch day. They were $19.99 each, and I was like, wow, this is genius, right? So 2K doubled their sales or something. I don't know the exact numbers, and surpassed Madden that year in sales.
Wow.
And so because if you played 2K series, you realize it's so much better game control-wise than Madden. Madden's kind of was always a little boring to me running. This has this meter that you charge up. I know I'm talking a lot about sport games, but this meant a lot to me, and my soul died a little bit because there was another football game that would compete, the Sony Game Day series, and it was kind of an awful football game, but I would still play it just to see how bad it was, just to try it. So there was 3 football games always out, sometimes 4, and every year the magazines would compare them all.
Right.
And say which one's better, the new. So they were competing against each other, Madden and 2K, getting better and better and better.
This is all within the same system.
Yeah, same system. And so in 05, this was the last year for the 2K series because Madden bought the NFL rights solely that only Madden can make a football game.
Ugh.
And when I read that, my heart sank. I died inside that day. It ruined gaming a little bit for me when they went just to only Madden. And if you play Madden 06, which is the only football game at the time, it's the worst football game ever made.
I believe it.
It was horrible.
Well, now they've got the market cornered,
The market cornered. So to this day, I still play 2K5 with updated rosters. So either I'll go do it, or you can download them on. If you have an Xbox version of 2K5, it'll play on your 360.
Well, we can talk about that next time.
Next time, yeah. So, but 2K5, try it out. Other games that I really like, Baldurs. I know I don't talk about RPGs much, or action RPGs, or that type of gameplay. I did play them, but they took so much time back in the day that I didn't have time to sit down with a Final Fantasy or an RPG as much. But stuff like Baldur's Gate, I love this game, or the Diablo, things like that, was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time with this one, and not so much with the second one. But I'm going to talk about this one real quick, X-Men Legends. There was a game, for 1 year I had a PC that could play real games in '99 because of Unreal Tournament. I loved Unreal Tournament. And okay, so real quick, when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, every genre was there. If you wanted first-person shooter, you could play Unreal Tournament on the PC, Quake, Doom, stuff like that. You had open-world games. The Call of Duty series came out. You could play that. And so every genre was there now. You had RPGs, JRPGs, RTSs. Everything existed. Became existent during the PS2 era.
Yeah.
So
it was a jack of all trades system.
It could do everything, right? So this game right here, there was a game on the PC, I think it was in like 2000 that I played, called Freedom Force. And it was horrible characters. It was like a 1776 guy, on the cover with a horrible hat. I mean, it was just awful characters, but the gameplay was fun, and you could mod it, and you could make that 1776 guy Captain America with a skin.
Ah.
So that's what I did, and it still wasn't great because he didn't have Captain America powers, but it looked like him.
Right. You could pretend.
So when this game came out, X-Men Legends, I love a game that has small characters, like Diablo style. I love that. And this one had so many characters, and you could go in and out of the characters really quickly. You could pick them. They had their real powers like the X-Men. This game, I just loved it when it came out. I played this one to death. Star Wars Battlefront 2. What did I like about this one that I played so much? It was like an...
you finally felt like you were actually in the Star Wars.
Yeah, because you could fly a ship. You could do the speed. You could become the one of the stormtrooper guys, or you could be on the bad side, the good side. And I remember the first time. Now he wasn't playable. You couldn't attack him. But I was going through a level and I saw Darth Vader fighting out in the wild. I went, oh, that's Darth Vader out there fighting, even though he was a non-playable person.
Right, but you finally felt like you were in that franchise.
In the franchise, and so and plus what I loved about this, it was like Call of Duty Online but offline.
Yeah.
You could play a mode like that, and I love that. That's why I'll still play this every now and then because of that offline mode and the capture the flag type deal. So that's what I loved about this. What is this Tulip doing here?
Oh, Mike, this is my favorite game of all time.
In the history of gaming?
In the history of gaming.
Let me look at this. Tell me why.
There's just something so charming about this game. You're a new kid in town, and you meet this girl, and you love her so much, but the only way you can win her affection is by kissing everybody else in town.
Oh, you're gonna get mono.
Exactly. It's the mononucleosis of the game.
Could you catch something? Herpes?
No, you couldn't catch anything. But man, you would like try to do a traditional Japanese shower, and you had to do it correctly.
Oh.
So you can kiss a lion.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just so offbeat.
What about this one? What's this one doing here?
Oh.
It's Metal Gear Solid 2. Don't look at me.
Oh, come on. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Man, that was the first Metal Gear game I actually played.
Okay.
And they had you can aim in first person and sneak around.
Naked Raiden.
So that meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it was just fun. It's fun.
Okay. So
That was the thing. This system was fun.
It was, Castro asked me a few minutes before we did the video, what is your favorite system? And I told him before that if I was on a deserted island and I could only pick one system with the whole library, it would be the PS2. Even though it's not my favorite system, it's not my top 3.
Right. I gotta agree with that.
Because of the library so large, it has everything. Like stuff I haven't even mentioned, like the Namco Museum, the Midway series, the Taito series, that they have the compilation.
The SNK classics.
The SNK, it has all the compilations.
That weird Sega collection that they put out where they re-released like Outrun and Golden Axe, but it was like in 2.5.
Mega Man Anniversary. You had just tons of compilations, and that's one of the reasons I do love this system. And I would pick it for a deserted island with the library because there's thousands of games in the library.
You would never run out of games to play.
You would not run out, especially if you have an HDMI converter to upscale the image. That's one thing that was a little negative to me was that I wished it had one little bump in graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you hooked it up to a component video, it still would only make it a tweak better, barely noticeable. Because I remember when the component cables came out, you could do that, and it was just barely noticeable where the original Xbox was a notch better. But saying that, it's still, when I go back and play PS2 games, especially some of the 3D type games, it has a charm to it. What I love about it is that the controls, when you're controlling a person, he's not perfectly smooth, right? So like when you control, look, he goes to the left and right real quick. There's no fluid motion.
Right.
He just goes boink, boink, like the old days.
Right.
Right. And I love that. I love that type of gaming. Like boink, boink. There's just no animation there. There's just a quick transition. Like it's not analog, it's digital.
So would you say that the PS2 is kind of like the perfect storm of gaming?
I would say to me, it's the last essence of classic gaming. To me, these games feel classics. Most of them.
This one. Okay. Anyway,
but
sorry.
I think this is going to be it. I think we're going to keep going with the videos, but I think to me this is the last classic system that's out there, and it's barely in that classic ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
It's right at the outer edge. It's almost outside of the park. I do love this system, and I do go back to play it from time to time. I probably play my PS1 games more than my PS2, but it's like 5 years ago I didn't play my PS1 games that much.
Mm-hmm.
I'd play the older system, so probably in 2-3 years I'm gonna be playing PS2 games more and not my PS1. Kind of nostalgic stuff. But saying that, I think we're gonna wrap it up. You have any final words?
I just love the library of this system. It's the greatest library in all of video game history so far. at the time of this recording.
At the time of this recording. So, all right, guys, that wraps up this episode. So come on down to Player One Video Games. It'll be a great time.